I think the bigger conflicts were when I was in high school, and I was then the first time I went to like my bishop, and he was the first person I ever told. I was like 17, I think, and I remember that was probably one of the hardest conversations I've ever had in my life. Like, I remember just, the room just felt like molasses, and you're trying to like just push out these words because you knew it's what you had to do, and you just felt so heavy and just so like everything was fighting to getting these words out, and I just remember feeling just so conflicted, and that was the most difficult moment, was just saying that to him, and then I guess then the build up to that, and deciding I was going to do that up to that point was also kind of a really hard moment, and I think getting over that hurdle made future hurdles a lot easier, and so maybe that's why I didn't seem. But
yeah.
Well, at 17, did you actually? You told your bishop, you said, "I'm gay." I mean,
Yeah.
did you say I'm gay? Like,
Yeah.
because for me, I was like, I've
homosexual.
had this experience or that experience,
Mhm.
but then I would say, but I don't think I'm gay,
Right.
because gay is, like in my
Gay's
mind,
evil.
gay was saying was a choice. Like, I
Right.
was buying into it. I was
Right.
like, well, I haven't chosen to live my life
Right.
out and whatever,
Yeah.
so
So I'm not
I guess
gay.
I must not be
I just
gay.
have a challenge.
I just like boys, whatever.
Right.
But so I remember my bishops asking me, "Are you gay?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not gay, but this is all these, these are the things I've done, and blah blah blah."
Right.
Right.
As a youth, so I think that at 17, if you can actually say, "Yes, I am gay,"
Yeah.
to your leader,
For
that's
me,
a
for
big.
me, it was so
that's a
much more
milestone.
philosophical hurdle than it was, because I'd never done anything with any guys, and really I'd never had any real temptation to. Like, I never was in some sort of band camp situation where like this is a kid. So like none of that ever happened to me, and so I didn't really have any of that to talk about. But I definitely had processed all the implications emotionally about it. I mean, I kind of was pretty aware of it early enough to know definitely by then, and know what it was. Not so much on
Where are you from originally?
Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, Phoenix. So it's not that I had all that much exposure to it, and I kind of knew what gay culture was at all either. But I kind of knew that I was attracted to men, and that's kind of the definition of being gay. Like that basic level, I had, kind of figured out. So
Well, and the other thing about Craig that was so fascinating about those first months at BYU was that he, for me, again, like, I was sort of in awe of him, because I couldn't believe that he was gay and that he'd been able to maintain such an emotional composure through the whole entire mission. He just didn't seem issuey. And then after the mission, he started like dating guys, and he actually started sort of like being a little more aggressive about it than I was. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Like,
about dating guys.
Yeah, he definitely like went after it, and like he was the first one of all of our friends to like get a serious boyfriend, and he had this like serious boyfriend in Salt Lake for like a couple years, I think, right?
Yeah, it's like a year and a half.
Yeah, a year and a half. So like, and I this the whole time I was like, Craig is a unicorn. I was like, how is he doing this? Like, because he wasn't like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? My testimony, all this stuff. Like, it just seemed like he had this like mechanism of just being like, this is like what I want to do with, I don't know, it was just really interesting. And it's always been something so curious to me about Craig, because every step of the way, I was so in my head about everything, and I just felt like Craig never was. Like, I felt like he just was like, yeah, I'm dating men now, like, that's what I'm doing. And he just seemed to manage all of the like turmoil. I felt like he just like left all the BS on the sides. I don't know. I mean, how would you?
Well, it's interesting because we have this other friend, Mike, who now lives in Salt Lake, who, when because Don, like, our friend Don, like, found him on the internet, and then he kind of, like, talked him into being our friend, and so he was, like, our new friend somewhere halfway through college, and what's interesting is we always kind of got each other on that sense, because Mike was the same way. He kind of, when he came out of the closet, he kind of already decided all of these other things, so even though, and I feel like I'm the same way. Even though when we came out, that was an important, pivotal moment. A lot of processing, a lot of the inner conflicts kind of had already, at least started to happen.
I see.
So,
Which is
and
what
plus,
you said.
Like, are you talking about like church stuff?
right, church stuff and even personal stuff and you know,
shame issues or whatever.
Me
like,
too. Like
right.
somehow I think I dealt with all that
Before.
before.
So
before
you were
came
like,
out.
I'm done.
So
I'm
when you
done.
came
Yeah.
out, you're like, you could.
Yeah, and
start
I
to
set up a
that makes
timetable and
sense.
I made it, and so
A
like
timetable. I
I
love
did.
that. You're so
I was like,
organized
this
about
is how
it.
it has to work.
That makes sense, actually. So
Yeah.
you kind of like did a lot of that processing, I guess.
Well, you know, then like I said, Mike and I are much more introverted than I think like Don and Clark were, you know, and so I think that while all those conflicts were there at some point, and you know everyone resolves them all different times, different points in their life, but like I think I was always just used to, you know, not involving other people with it too. Sometimes I think that, especially when
I see.
you know, when I first met Clark, or not when I first met him, but when we were becoming friends at BYU, a lot of the stuff I was like, well, I mean, I didn't really feel like I was gonna dump all this stuff on him either.
Right.
You know, it was still new enough to where, you know, the friendship was still light enough to where, you know, even though we were telling each other personal things about coming out and stuff like that.
Oh, I
you
see.
know,
That makes
think
you get
that,
closer fast, actually, when there's
Yeah.
no one else around. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're
Someone
like
to talk
have to
to.
depend on each other.